The galaxy had always known peace. The stars shimmered in calm harmony, and the great empires respected the silent balance of the universe. But peace never lasts forever. It began with a sudden flash near the edge of the Andorian belt, a light too bright, too violent. The first explosions came moments later, and the silence of space was replaced with chaos. The Andorian Empire, proud and ancient, had been attacked. Their cities on the moon of Valora were burning, and their people cried for help across the stars. Among them was Queen Serathia, ruler of the Andorian people, wise, graceful, and strong. She had ruled for centuries, her golden skin and bright sapphire eyes a symbol of peace. But that day she watched her world burn from the royal command ship. Her two daughters, among the princess twins, were trapped on the planet below. She ordered her guards to go after them. But it was too late. The enemy, known as the Kryth Dominion, used dark technology that no one understood. They captured the royal daughters and vanished into the dark void. For the first time in 1,000 years, Queen Serathia screamed. The sound echoed through the ship's halls like thunder. Her people swore vengeance, but deep inside she felt something worse. A hollow pain, a mother's grief that even power could not heal. Years passed. The war spread. Planets fell, armies clashed, and entire star systems vanished into dust. The humans from Earth, small and forgotten compared to the great empires, had tried to stay away. They had no reason to fight in alien wars, but wars have a way of finding everyone. That's how Commander Ryan Holt entered the story. Ryan wasn't a hero, not yet. He was just a soldier trying to survive in a universe that didn't care about humans. His ship, the Valor, had been assigned to patrol near Andorian space. But when the distress signals came, thousands of Andorian lives in danger, he made a choice his superiors hadn't ordered. He turned the ship toward the chaos. The crew was terrified. "Sir, those are alien royals, and it's not our war," said Lieutenant Mara. Ryan only replied, "Then it's time someone made it our war." They flew into the fire. The battlefield was a graveyard of broken ships. Andorian vessels floated in pieces, and the Kryth fighters swarmed like angry insects. Human technology was old, weak, but Ryan had courage. He ordered the cannons to full power, using every trick in the book to outsmart the enemy. The Valor fought like a ghost, appearing and vanishing between wrecks. It wasn't about winning. It was about saving whoever they could. When the battle ended, the Andorians had survived, but barely. Queen Serathia's ship was crippled, her people scattered. Ryan's ship had lost half its crew. But in the smoke and silence, one thing was clear. Humanity had stood beside the aliens when no one else did. That act changed everything. Queen Serathia demanded to meet the human who had risked everything. When Ryan stood before her, blood on his uniform, eyes tired but proud, she looked at him for a long time. "You saved my people," she said softly. Ryan shook his head. "We saved who we could. I'm sorry we couldn't save your daughters." The Queen's face darkened. She had not spoken of her daughters in years. "No one has found them," she whispered. "Not even the stars." Ryan's gaze didn't move. "Then maybe it's time someone tried." The Queen stared at the human commander, a man from a small world with no crown, no power, only determination in his eyes. Something inside her shifted, a spark of hope she thought was lost. "Why would a human do this?" she asked. Ryan smiled faintly. "Because we don't leave families behind." Outside, the stars burned red with war. But for the first time in years, Queen Serathia felt something stronger than fear, hope. She turned toward the stars where her daughters were last seen. Somewhere out there in the cold dark, her children might still be alive, and one human had just promised to find them. The night after the battle, the Andorian flagship drifted in silence. The stars outside were calm again, but the wounds of war were deep. Inside the ship's council chamber, Queen Serathia stood before a glowing map of the galaxy. Her eyes were cold, her heart still heavy. Commander Ryan Holt entered quietly. His uniform was torn, his hands still trembling from the fight, but his resolve hadn't faded. He walked toward the Queen, aware of the soldiers watching him, proud alien warriors staring at a human who had done what many of them wouldn't. The Queen turned to him. "You meant what you said," she said softly. "You truly intend to search for my daughters?" Ryan nodded. "Yes, Your Majesty. If they're alive, I'll find them." Her gaze searched his face. "Many have tried. All failed. Even my best scouts. What makes you think you can succeed? Ryan didn't boast. He simply said, because I don't stop trying. And because I've seen what happens when people lose hope. I don't want that for you. Or for them. The Queen studied him for a long time. Then she raised her hand and the lights shifted. The holographic map expanded, showing the last known coordinates of her daughter's ship. This is where they vanished, she said. Near the Black Rift. A place no one returns from. Ryan looked at the swirling red nebula on the map. The Black Rift was a dark region filled with strange energy storms. Ships that entered never came back. I'll go, he said quietly. The Queen's general stepped forward angrily. You can't send him alone. He's human, fragile. The rift destroys even Andorian metal. Ryan's voice was calm. Then I'll take a ship that isn't afraid to break. The Queen raised her hand. The room fell silent. Prepare him a vessel, she ordered, and someone who knows the rift. From the shadows stepped an Andorian pilot, Lyra Vesh, known for flying through death itself. Her armor was silver, her eyes sharp. If he's going, she said, I'll guide him. But if he dies, it's not on my record. Ryan smiled faintly. Good to know. 3 days later, the mission began. Ryan stood on the bridge of a small stealth cruiser named the Starfire. The ship hummed with quiet power, a mix of human engineering and Andorian technology. Lyra sat beside him, checking the controls, her expression unreadable. Once we cross the border, she said, we're on our own. The Queen can't send help? I wouldn't expect her to, Ryan replied. We'll find them. Lyra looked at him curious. Why do humans care so much about others? You could have left. You could be safe back on Earth. Ryan stared at the stars. Because caring makes us human, even when it hurts. Lyra said nothing, but a small flicker of respect crossed her face. The ship moved silently through the void. Hours turned into days. They passed wreckage from old battles. Silent ships drifting in darkness, reminders of lost wars. Every so often, Ryan would look at the old hologram of the Queen's daughters. 2 young Andorian girls with silver eyes, smiling and full of life. He didn't know why, but he felt connected to them. Maybe it was because he knew what loss felt like. His own sister had died years ago in a mining disaster on Mars. He had never been able to save her. Maybe now he could make it right for someone else. As the Starfire neared the Black Rift, space began to twist. The stars stretched into strange shapes and the ship's alarm screamed. Lyra fought to steady the controls. Energy field's unstable, she shouted. If we go deeper, we'll lose navigation. Ryan tightened his grip on the console. Keep us steady. We're not turning back. The ship shook violently. The lights flickered. It felt like flying through a storm of invisible waves. Then suddenly, silence. Outside, the stars were gone. They had entered the rift. The space around them was black, alive, moving like liquid shadow. Strange whispers echoed through the comms, voices that weren't theirs. Lyra's voice trembled. This place. It's not natural. Ryan looked around. No, it's something worse. It's a trap. The radar flickered, showing faint signals. Distant, weak, but real. There. Lyra pointed. 3 life signs. Could it be? Ryan leaned closer. The signal matched the Andorian royal genetic code. It was them. The Queen's daughters, alive. A chill ran through him. Set a course, he said. We found them. But as the Starfire moved closer, another signal appeared. Large, dark, and moving fast. Lyra's eyes widened. Something's coming. Ryan stared into the black. What is it? The ship's sensors flickered one last time before dying completely. A shadow passed across the front window, huge, monstrous, mechanical, and a cold voice echoed through the comm system. Human vessel detected. You should not have come here. Ryan's jaw tightened. Too late for that. He reached for his weapon. The hunt had just begun. Darkness surrounded the Starfire. The lights flickered as if afraid to stay on. Outside, the space around the ship was alive, not with stars but with shadows moving like smoke. Commander Ryan Holt stood still, eyes fixed on the front screen. The voice that spoke through the comm was cold and emotionless, a sound that didn't belong to anything human or Andorian. Human vessel detected, it repeated. You should not have come here. Lyra Vesh tried to trace the source, but every radar signal was scrambled. It's jamming us, she said sharply. I can't see what's out there. Ryan moved closer to the window. His reflection stared back, pale, tired, but determined. It doesn't matter who they are. If they've got the princesses, we find them. Then something passed in front of the ship, enormous like a shadow made of metal and fire. Its outline shifted with the darkness, revealing glowing red eyes scattered across its hull. Lyra whispered, "Shadow hunters." Ryan turned to her. "What are they?" "They're machines," she said. "Ancient ones, built by the Kryth Dominion during the First Wars. They hunt life. No one controls them now." As if hearing her, the massive shadow roared, a sound that wasn't heard but felt deep inside the chest. The ship's systems shut down one by one. "Engines offline," Lyra shouted. "Weapons down!" "It's draining our power." Ryan gritted his teeth. "Switch to manual." He grabbed the emergency lever, forcing power into the thrusters. The ship jolted, engines roaring weakly back to life. The shadow hunter turned, firing beams of red energy that sliced through space. The hull groaned as the blasts hit. Ryan pulled the ship into a dive. "Hold on." The Starfire spun through the dark clouds, dodging the attacks by inches. Sparks flew inside the cockpit. Lyra clung to her console, shouting coordinates. "Left, go left." "There's a cave, some kind of debris field." They dove into it. Massive chunks of rock and old ship remains. The hunter followed, its red lights glowing like demon eyes in the dark. Ryan slammed a button. "Release the flares." Dozens of glowing orbs shot out, confusing the hunter's sensors. It roared again, crashing into an asteroid and vanishing into a burst of debris. Silence. Lyra breathed hard, her hands shaking. That was insane. Ryan looked at her. "You're welcome," she laughed weakly. "Humans really are crazy." "Yeah," he said, "but we're good at staying alive." The ship drifted through the dark debris, silent except for the hum of the engines. The damage was serious, systems flickering, air filters whining. Lyra went to fix the power conduits while Ryan checked the scanners again. The faint life signals were still there, closer now. 3 of them. Weak but steady, he stared at the screen. "They're alive," he whispered. Lyra turned, her silver eyes wide. "You're sure?" Ryan nodded. "But they're not moving. Could be trapped." Lyra joined him at the console. The signal came from inside a derelict station, an old Kryth research base half broken and floating in the rift's gravity field. Ryan frowned. "That's where they're keeping them. Or where they died," Lyra said quietly. Ryan gave her a steady look. "We'll find out." Hours later, the ship approached the ruined station. Its surface was scarred and twisted, pieces floating around like dead satellites. No lights, no movement, just silence. Ryan put on his armor, sealing his helmet. "Stay with the ship." "Keep the engines ready," Lyra shook her head. "You're not going in there alone." He paused, then nodded. "All right, let's move." They left the Starfire, drifting across the dark void in silence. Their lights cut through the black, revealing walls covered in frost and burn marks. Inside the station, everything was still. The corridors were filled with floating debris, papers, wires, pieces of machines. The silence was heavy, almost alive. Lyra's voice echoed softly through the comm. "This place feels wrong." "Yeah," Ryan said. "Like something's watching." They moved deeper into the station until they reached a sealed door. The life signals were coming from inside. Ryan placed his hand on the scanner, forcing it open. The door slid aside with a hiss. Inside the chamber were 3 cryopods, dimly glowing blue. Inside them, 2 young Andorian girls, their faces peaceful, frozen in time. "The Queen's daughters," Lyra gasped. "By the stars. It's them." Ryan stepped closer, his heart racing. He checked the readings. "They're alive. In stasis for years. The systems are failing." He started working quickly, connecting his power pack to their pods. The lights grew brighter. The girls' eyes flickered beneath the ice. Then, a noise. A metallic scrape echoed from the corridor behind them. Lyra turned fast. "Ryan, something's coming." He looked up. "How many?" Her scanner beeped. "Too many." From the shadows outside, red eyes appeared, and dozens of them. The shadow hunters had found them again. Ryan's voice was calm but fierce. "Get the girls. I'll hold them off." Lyra's hand shook. "You can't fight them all." "Watch me." He raised his weapon as the metal monsters crawled through the door, their claws glowing red. And in that moment between death and duty, Ryan Holt, a human among aliens, made his stand. The battle for the Queen's daughters had begun. Red lights filled the corridor. The air trembled with metallic roars as the shadow hunters moved forward, their claws scraping against the cold floor. Sparks danced in the air. Commander Ryan Holt stood in front of the cryopods, weapon ready, his body tense but calm. Behind him, Lyra was trying to disconnect the Queen's daughters from the old machines. "Almost there," she shouted. "Just a few more seconds." Ryan's eyes never left the enemy. "You've got two." The first shadow hunter lunged. Ryan fired 3 quick shots, bright blue plasma bursts that tore through the air. The creature screamed as its metal body cracked, black smoke spilling out. But more came. 10 or 20. Too many. Ryan threw a small device on the floor. A white flash filled the room. The explosion threw metal pieces everywhere and the hunters stumbled. Lyra disconnected the last pod. "Got them!" Ryan turned. "Go. Take the pods and move." Lyra floated backward, dragging the small pods toward the corridor, her jetpack flickering. The shadow hunters recovered fast. Their red eyes focused again, scanning through smoke and flame. Ryan fired again, covering her retreat. "Move, Lyra, go." She didn't argue. The doors ahead opened and she pushed through. Ryan followed, firing behind him. The hunters crashed through the walls, climbing over one another like insects. The corridor shook as the starfire locked onto their location. Lyra's voice came through the comm. "Docking in 20 seconds. Make it 10. Ryan shouted. The hunters crawled closer. One leaped onto him, knocking him down. Its claws dug into his armor. Ryan grabbed a sharp pipe from the floor and drove it straight into the machine's chest. Sparks exploded. He kicked it off, breathing hard, then grabbed his rifle and kept running. Lyra reached the airlock, slamming the door open. "Hurry!" Ryan jumped through the hatch just as the door closed. The hunters smashed into it from the other side, claws tearing at the metal. "Punch it!" Ryan yelled. Lyra hit the engines. The ship roared to life and shot out of the station like a comet. The shadow hunters tried to follow, but the explosion came first. The power core inside the base went critical. The entire station lit up like a small sun before collapsing into itself. Inside the ship, everything went quiet. Only the hum of the engines filled the air. Lyra floated near the pods. The Queen's daughters lay inside, breathing softly, their eyes slowly fluttering open. Their skin shimmered faintly under the light. Ryan leaned against the wall, exhausted but alive. "We got them," he said softly. Lyra looked at him. "You did it," he shook his head. "We did it." For a moment, the war outside didn't matter. The darkness, the battles, the pain, all of it faded as the 2 young Andorian girls took their first breaths after years of frozen sleep. But then, one of the pod screens flickered. A strange symbol appeared, the mark of the Kryth Dominion. Lyra frowned. "That's impossible." Ryan stepped closer. "What is it?" She hesitated. "It's a signal. The Kryth were here. They left something inside the pods." Before she could finish, the lights dimmed. The ship's computer began to speak in a mechanical voice. "Warning, system override detected." Ryan's heart sank. "They planted a tracker." Lyra's hands flew over the controls. "They know we're here." Every Kryth ship in the rift just woke up. The radar lit up with dozens of red signals, enemy ships approaching fast. Ryan cursed under his breath. "We can't fight them all." Lyra's voice cracked. "Then what do we do?" He looked at the map. The only way out was through the storm wall of the rift, a deadly plasma zone that no ship had ever survived. Ryan made his choice. "We fly through it." Lyra's eyes widened. "That's suicide." He smiled faintly. "Not today." The engine screamed as the starfire turned toward the storm. Bright lightning flashed through the black clouds ahead. The Kryth ships followed, firing red beams that cut across space. Ryan shouted over the noise, "Hold on!" The ship dove into the storm. The world became light and sound and electricity, fire and chaos. The Kryth ships tried to follow, but one by one they were torn apart by the storm's fury. Lyra gripped the controls, fighting to keep them steady. "We can't hold it!" Ryan looked at the pods. The Queen's daughters were still safe. Just a little further. The ship spun, alarm screaming. Panels exploded. Smoke filled the cockpit. And then suddenly, silence. They broke through. Stars appeared again, calm and bright. They were out of the rift. Lyra slumped in her seat, laughing in disbelief. We did it. We actually did it, Ryan leaned back, breathing hard. Yeah, but this isn't over. He turned toward the sleeping girls. We've got to get them home. Lyra nodded slowly, and hoped the Queen still believes in miracles. Outside, far behind them, the rift closed, hiding the wrecks of the Kryth fleet forever. But in the deep dark, something else stirred. Watching them. The stars were calm again. For the first time in days, there was no sound of gunfire or alarms, only the steady hum of the starfire drifting through open space. Commander Ryan Holt sat quietly in the cockpit, his armor cracked, his eyes heavy with exhaustion. Beside him, Lyra checked the readings on the cryopods. The Queen's daughters, Princess Elara and Princess Nyra, were resting peacefully. Their breathing was slow, soft, almost musical. Lyra spoke gently. They're stable now. No more danger. Ryan nodded, but his face stayed serious. Good, because danger has a way of following us home. He stared at the map. The ship was now heading toward the Andorian capital world, Valora Prime, the heart of the Queen's empire. Lyra looked at him with curiosity. You really plan to face her after all this? Ryan smiled faintly. After what we've been through, I'm not afraid of a queen. When the starfire entered the atmosphere of Valora Prime, the sky lit up with 1,000 ships. Andorian defense fleets circled the planet like glowing stars. As soon as they detected the human vessel, warning signals flashed. This is Valora Command, said a strict voice through the comms. Identify yourself or be destroyed. Lyra spoke fast. This is Lyra Vesh, Andorian pilot under Queen Sarathia's command. We are returning from the Black Rift with the royal heirs. Silence, then chaos. The comms exploded with voices. Repeat that. The royal heirs? They were lost for years. Ryan looked at Lyra and said quietly, Looks like they missed us. A group of royal ships surrounded the starfire and guided it to the palace landing bay. The massive golden towers of Valora Prime rose like mountains, shining in the sunlight. Crowds gathered, soldiers stood in formation, and the air buzzed with disbelief. As the ramp opened, Queen Sarathia stood waiting, tall, graceful, her eyes bright like two blue suns. Her heart pounded in her chest. She had not allowed herself to hope. Until now, Ryan stepped out first, his armor still marked with battle scars. Then Lyra followed, carrying the cryopods. When the Queen saw the two young faces inside, her breath caught. Her hands trembled. She took a step forward, tears filling her eyes. My daughters. The crowd went silent. Even the guards lowered their weapons. The Queen placed her hand on the pod, her voice breaking. You brought them back to me. Ryan bowed his head. They were never truly gone, Your Majesty. Just waiting for someone to find them. The Queen turned to him, her expression soft but filled with wonder. You crossed the rift, faced the Kryth, and survived the hunters. Why would a human risk everything for us? Ryan met her eyes. Because family means everything, no matter the species. The Queen's tears fell freely. She reached out, touching his shoulder gently. You have done what no one else could. The Andorian Empire will never forget you. The crowd erupted in cheers. Soldiers raised their weapons high in salute. For the first time in centuries, the Andorian people celebrated peace instead of war. But as the Queen smiled, something in the distance caught Ryan's attention. A man in royal armor, one of the generals, stood still watching them with cold eyes. Ryan leaned slightly toward Lyra. Who's that? Lyra frowned. That's General Voran, the Queen's war advisor. He never wanted humans in Andorian space. Ryan's instincts tightened. He had seen looks like that before. Men who smiled in peace but dreamed of power. That night, the palace was alive with music and celebration. Golden lights filled the halls and alien instruments played songs of victory. The Queen sat beside the pods, waiting for her daughters to wake. Ryan stood on the balcony, looking out at the stars. Lyra joined him, her armor replaced with soft silver robes. You should be proud, she said quietly. You gave a queen her life back. Ryan sighed. I'm not proud. I'm just tired. Lyra smiled faintly. You humans. Always so dramatic, he chuckled softly. You haven't seen us at our worst. They both laughed quietly, but their moment of peace was short. The door opened, and General Voran entered. His expression was polite but sharp. Commander Holt, he said formally. Her Majesty requests rest. You will be escorted to your quarters. Ryan nodded, sensing the tension behind the man's words. Of course. But as he turned to leave, Vorin leaned closer. His voice was low and cold. You've done enough. The Queen may trust you, but I don't. Stay out of Andorian affairs. Ryan didn't flinch. If I'd stayed out, her daughters would still be lost. Vorin's eyes narrowed. Be careful, human. Not every battle is fought with guns. Ryan gave him a calm look. Then I'll win those too. The general turned and walked away, his cloak brushing against the floor. Lyra watched him go, her voice tense. He's planning something. Ryan nodded slowly. Yeah, and whatever it is, it's not good. Outside, the stars shimmered above the Andorian palace. Peaceful, quiet. Almost too quiet. Deep within the shadows of the royal hall, hidden machines came to life. Red lights blinked silently inside the walls. A faint mechanical voice whispered to itself, repeating the same words. Target located. Protocol awakening initiated. Ryan didn't know it yet, but the war he thought was over was only changing its face. Morning light shone through the crystal walls of the Andorian palace. Golden rays touched the Queen's throne room, where silence ruled after a night of celebration. The air still smelled of burned incense and victory. Commander Ryan Holt stood at the edge of the hall, his armor freshly cleaned, though his eyes still carried the shadows of war. Lyra Vesh stood beside him, alert as always. At the center of the room lay the two cryopods. Soft blue mist rose as they powered down. Queen Serathia watched with trembling hands. A small sound broke the silence. A breath. Then another, the first pod opened. Princess Alara gasped for air, her silver eyes blinking in confusion. The second followed, and Princess Nira slowly sat up, her hair falling like threads of light. The Queen rushed forward. She knelt between them, tears running freely down her face. My daughters, my light. You're home. Alara looked around, dazed. Mother, I dreamed for so long. Nira touched her mother's face. We thought you were gone. Serathia smiled through her tears. You were never forgotten. Ryan stepped closer but stopped, giving them space. Lyra whispered, You did it, Commander. He nodded quietly. Yeah. But it doesn't feel over. Hours later, the palace healers examined the princesses. Their vitals were strong, but strange readings appeared on every scan, a faint energy signature deep inside their cells. Dr. Thalen, the royal medic, frowned. I've never seen anything like this. Their DNA, it's been changed. The Queen's face paled. Changed? By whom? Ryan stepped forward. The Kryth. Lyra looked at him sharply. You think they experimented on them? Ryan nodded. The hunters weren't guarding them. They were protecting something inside them. The room fell silent. Dr. Thalen continued. If this energy grows unstable, it could spread. We must keep them isolated until we understand. The Queen clenched her fists. No. They will not be treated as prisoners again. Ryan spoke gently. Your Majesty, if the Kryth use them for something dangerous, the best way to protect them is to find out why. She met his eyes. And who will do that? Ryan's answer was simple. I will. That evening he walked with Lyra through the palace garden. Blue-leafed trees whispered in the wind and alien birds sang softly. Lyra broke the silence. You really think the Kryth turned the princesses into weapons? Ryan shrugged. Maybe not weapons. Maybe keys. Keys to what? He looked up at the stars. To whatever comes next. Suddenly a distant explosion echoed from below the city. The ground shook. They ran to the balcony. Smoke was rising from the southern tower. Guards shouted. Ryan turned to Lyra. The control wing. That's where the ship logs are stored. And the Kryth code. They raced through the corridors. The halls glowed red as alarms blared. When they reached the control chamber, the door was already open. Inside, General Vorin stood before a holographic console, his armor shining in the crimson light. Ryan drew his sidearm. Step away, General. Vorin turned slowly, calm, confident. You think you saved the Empire, human, but you brought its doom. The hologram behind him displayed a strange pattern, a Kryth symbol pulsing like a heartbeat. Lyra gasped. You activated their signal. Vorin smiled coldly. The Queen has grown weak. The old ways must end. The The Kryth promised power and rebirth. Ryan fired. The shot hit the console, exploding in sparks. Foran lunged forward, striking Ryan with a metal gauntlet. They fought fiercely, crashing into the control panels. Lyra tried to help, but the general threw her aside. "You don't understand," he shouted. "The princesses are the key. When they awaken fully, the Kryth will return them and I will command them." Ryan headbutted him, breaking his visor. Not today. With one last strike, he knocked the general out cold, but it was too late. The symbol on the screen kept pulsing, spreading like fire through the network. Lyra stared in horror. He opened a gate. Ryan breathed heavily. "Then we close it." He slammed his hand on the console, trying to override the signal. Sparks flew. The system resisted. Outside, thunder rolled through the sky. Dark clouds gathered, not weather, but ships. Hundreds of small red lights appeared above the planet, descending like falling stars. Lyra whispered, "The Kryth are coming." Ryan's jaw tightened. "Then we stand and fight." He looked toward the royal tower where the queen held her daughters close, unaware of the danger above. The war wasn't over. It had just come home. The sky above Valora Prime turned red. Flames and smoke rose from the city towers as the first wave of Kryth ships broke through the clouds. Their engines howled like monsters, and beams of red energy rained down upon the golden streets. Inside the palace, the alarms screamed again. Guards rushed through the halls, shouting orders. The queen stood by the window, her face pale but strong, watching her world burn for the second time. Commander Ryan Holt burst into the throne room with Lyra at his side. "Your Majesty, we need to move. The Kryth have breached the lower defense grid." The queen didn't move at first. She turned slowly toward him. "How could this happen so fast?" Ryan's voice was firm. Foran opened the signal. He called them here. "They're targeting your daughters." The queen's eyes filled with anger. "Then we will not let them take them again." She looked at her guards. "Prepare the royal bunker. Protect the princesses at all costs." Ryan shook his head. "No bunker will hold against that firepower." "We need to fight." The queen hesitated. "Fight against that?" Ryan looked straight at her. "We beat them in the rift. We can do it again. But I need control of your planetary defenses." Lyra stepped forward. "He's right, Majesty. The Kryth's main weapon is fear. We can use their own tech against them." The queen studied them both. For a moment, she saw the courage that had once defined her people. She nodded slowly. "Then do it." "The human leads our defense." The command center was chaos. Screens flashed red warnings and the sounds of explosions echoed from the surface. Ryan and Lyra worked quickly, linking the palace systems to the Starfire's AI core. "Routing power to orbital cannons," Lyra said. "But we'll need someone to manually target the Kryth flagship." Ryan grinned. "That's my job." He looked at the queen through the comm screen. "Keep your daughters safe. We'll handle the rest." Sarathia's voice was steady, but her eyes betrayed her fear. "Bring them down, Commander." Ryan saluted. "With pleasure." Minutes later, the Starfire roared into the sky. The planet's air burned red as the ship rose through the firestorm. Dozens of Kryth fighters swarmed around it, firing plasma bolts. Ryan twisted the controls, rolling through explosions. Lyra shouted, "They're locking on." Ryan grinned. "Let them." He flew straight toward the largest Kryth cruiser, a monstrous ship shaped like a blade glowing with crimson light. The enemy weapons charged and the ship's shadow darkened the clouds. "Target the core," Ryan said. Lyra locked on. "Ready, fire." The Starfire's main cannon unleashed a blue-white blast that tore through the sky. The beam struck the cruiser's underside, piercing its shields. The explosion lit up the clouds and the entire ship shuddered before crashing toward the surface. Cheers echoed through the palace comms. Direct hit. But their celebration was short. The Kryth mothership appeared above the fleet, massive, silent, and ancient. Its hull was covered in strange red symbols. It opened like a flower of darkness, revealing a glowing core pulsing like a heart. Ryan's smile faded. "That's not a ship. It's alive." Lyra's face went pale. "It's absorbing the others. They're merging into it." The mothership grew larger, its energy levels spiking. It aimed straight for the palace. Ryan's hands tightened on the controls. "We've got one shot at this." Lyra hesitated. "Ryan, if you miss, we won't make it out." He smiled faintly. "Then I won't miss." He pushed the ship forward, engines screaming. The Starfire raced toward the mothership, weaving through laser fire. The ship's hull shook violently, sparks flying across the cockpit. "Closer!" Ryan shouted. "We need to hit the core!" Lyra stared at him. "You can't be serious, and we'll collide." Ryan's voice was calm. "Trust me." He aimed the nose of the Starfire directly at the glowing center of the mothership and armed the last fusion torpedo. "On my mark," he whispered. The mothership opened its central maw, firing a red beam straight at them. The blast filled the sky. But Ryan rolled the ship at the last second, flying directly through the beam's edge. The shields flared, half melted, but they made it through. "Mark!" Lyra fired. The torpedo shot out, spinning into the heart of the beast. For a split second, the world went quiet. Then, boom, a blinding explosion covered the sky. The mothership cracked open like glass, splitting into 1,000 burning pieces. Ryan and Lyra were thrown back, alarm screaming. The Starfire tumbled through debris, systems failing. Lyra shouted, "Engines offline." "Brace for impact," Ryan yelled. The ship fell from the sky, fire trailing behind it, crashing toward the capital below. Far below, Queen Serathia watched the explosion through the palace window. The night sky turned gold and red. Her daughters clung to her hands, frightened. "Mother," whispered Alara. "Was that the human?" The queen's eyes filled with tears. "Yes," she whispered softly. "And he may have just saved us all." The shockwave reached the palace, shaking the ground. The flames faded slowly, replaced by silence, but then, through the smoke, a faint blue light moved, the beacon of the Starfire still alive, falling but not destroyed. Lyra's voice came weakly through the comms. "We're down, but we're alive." The queen closed her eyes, relief washing over her. Yet high above the burning clouds, in the shadow of the broken mothership, one piece still moved, and a dark fragment glowing with the same red light. Something within it whispered, "Phase 2. Initiated." The battlefield was quiet now, covered in smoke and broken metal. The sky above Valora Prime still glowed faint red from the burning remains of the Kryth fleet. Yet among the wreckage, one small light blinked weakly, the beacon of the Starfire. Rescue ships from the palace landed nearby. Soldiers moved through the ash, searching. Then a voice shouted, "We found them!" From the wreck came two figures, Ryan Holt and Lyra Vesh. Both covered in dust, armor cracked but alive. Ryan limped forward, every step heavy. "Is the queen safe?" he asked. The soldier saluted. "Yes, Commander." "The queen and her daughters are in the palace." Ryan nodded, relief washing through him. "Good. Then we're not done yet." Inside the palace, the atmosphere was tense. The queen sat beside her daughters, who still glowed faintly with strange red light beneath their skin. Their energy had grown unstable, pulsing faster, stronger. Dr. Thalen shook his head. "The Kryth energy inside them. It's waking up." The queen looked desperate. "Can it be removed?" The doctor hesitated. "Maybe, but if we try and fail, they could die." Ryan entered quietly, his steps echoing in the hall. "Or if we don't try, the Kryth could use them to come back." The queen turned toward him. "Commander Holt, you've given me hope. Please don't take it away." Ryan stepped closer. "Hope doesn't mean standing still. It means fighting even when it hurts." He looked at the doctor. "What if we redirect the energy instead of removing it?" Thalen frowned. "Redirect to what?" Ryan pointed to the sky through the glass roof. "To what's left of the Kryth mothership. If we can overload it, it'll burn the signal source completely." Lyra entered behind him, carrying a small control unit from the Starfire. "We can channel the energy through this, but it needs a live source to guide it." Ryan nodded. "Then I'll guide it." The queen's eyes widened. "It could kill you," he smiled faintly. "Wouldn't be the first time something tried." They prepared the chamber. The princesses were placed in the center, their energy pulsing like twin suns. The control unit hummed as Ryan stood before them, connecting the power lines to his armor. Lyra checked the readings. "Once it starts, there's no going back." Ryan took a breath. "Then start it." The machine came alive. Light filled the room. The floor trembled as the Kryth energy began to flow, streams of red and blue wrapping around Ryan like lightning. His body shook, but he stood firm. The queen shouted, "Holt, stop! You'll die!" He forced a smile. "Tell your daughters to live." "That's enough for me." The energy surged brighter and brighter until the entire palace glowed. Outside, the broken mothership began to move, its dark core flickering to life. The red light turned white, then gold, then exploded into the heavens. The shockwave swept across the sky, burning away every trace of the Kryth signal. One by one, their ships crumbled into dust. Inside the palace, the light faded. The machines powered down. The Queen's daughters lay still, then slowly opened their eyes. The red glow was gone. Sarathia rushed to them, crying with relief. "It's over. You're free." Lyra looked around. "Where's Ryan?" Smoke rose from the center of the room. His armor lay cracked and scorched, the control unit shattered beside him. For a moment, everyone feared the worst. Then a faint cough broke the silence. Ryan sat up slowly, smiling weakly. "Did we win?" Lyra laughed through her tears. "Yeah, we did." The Queen knelt beside him. Her eyes shone with gratitude. "You saved not just my children, but my world. No one, not even the stars, and will forget this." Ryan looked at her softly. "Keep them safe. That's all the reward I need." She smiled gently. "Then let this world be your home too, human." He chuckled, closing his eyes. "I think I'd like that." Weeks later, the Andorian Empire rebuilt under a new dawn. The Kryth threat was gone. The Queen ruled with wisdom and peace, her daughters by her side once more. And high above Valora Prime, the Starfire flew again and repaired, shining, free. In the cockpit, Ryan Holt stood beside Lyra, staring out at the stars. Lyra smiled. "You really think it's over?" Ryan smirked. "For now. But somewhere out there, someone's gonna need help again." She laughed softly. "You humans never rest, do you?" He grinned. "No. We just keep showing the galaxy what humanity means." The ship turned toward the stars and vanished into the light. And for the first time in centuries, the Queen looked up at the sky not in fear, but in hope, whispering the words that would be remembered across the galaxy. "A human brought my daughters home."